Coming up on Naperville News 17, a new development proposed for South Naperville is put on hold. Changes ahead for the Naperville Nokia campus, and local pizzerias face off to see who wins top pies. Hello everyone, I'm Kim Pierce. Thanks for joining us for this week's Naperville News. The latest City Council meeting was a busy one, but the issue that drew the most discussion was the Polo Club development. Naperville News 17's Casey Krajewski has more.
Naperville City Council tabled a decision on the Polo Club development in South Naperville. Council is considering annexing the property into Naperville's jurisdiction, but needed to vote to direct city staff to begin preparing the appropriate documents. 135 members of the public voiced their opposition to the development proposed by D.R. Horton, finding issues with traffic and density.
The density of the proposed Polo Club development is 4.55 households per acre. This is more than double the adjacent density at South Point and twice the density of new developments in the area, such as Wagner Farms and Cloud Creek.
And they said more homes means more traffic. City staff agreed that traffic was a major problem on 119th, with drivers from Naperville, Plainfield, and Oswego using it as a thoroughfare from I-55.
What we basically have out there, it's an intersection capacity problem today. You know what, it's driven by the lack of lanes at that intersection.
D.R. Horton's plan would include adding a right turn lane at 119th and 59, restriping the left turn lane, and including a center lane along the Polo Club development. But residents felt that wasn't enough.
The traffic report rates the current evening conditions of 119th and 59 as a level of service F. The report says that if they do nothing and don't build, it's still an F. And if they do the items mentioned in this iteration of their plan, it's also still an F.
And while some on the dais were concerned about how the development would impact traffic, others felt the lack of affordable housing was a bigger issue.
Yes, this project offers some diversity on affordability, but it's got 0 units of actual affordable housing. We heard so much over the past year about the definition of affordable being 30% of income of 60% of the AMI, and this has nothing to add to that.
Council needed 5 votes to direct staff to prepare documents for annexation, but 6 to annex the property at a future meeting. When it became clear that only 5 council members supported the proposal, the item was tabled indefinitely. Reporting for Naperville News 17, I'm Casey Krajewski.
Council did vote to extend D.R. Horton's petition to work on their Polo Club development for another year. Also at the meeting, Council voted to enter into a sales tax sharing incentive agreement with Costco. Costco plans to purchase an 18.5-acre site in the East Ogden Avenue corridor to open its second Naperville location. But to make the store financially viable, they say they need help from the city.
Costco has what I have characterized as a moral approach to incentives. We ask for incentives when we need them. When we can afford the project without incentives, we don't ask for them.
Council voted unanimously to rebate 75% of sales taxes to the superstore, up to $5.5 million. City staff estimates that will take 5 years to pay off. Some residents oppose the plan as it would displace several current businesses, including Classic Cinema's Ogden 6 Theater. An online petition to save Ogden 6 Theater has garnered more than 21,000 signatures as of this recording. If the city's financial estimates are correct, Naperville should bring in more than $3.5 million in taxes over the rebate period, and an additional $1 million per year after the rebate is paid off. City Manager Doug Krieger said the city and the Naperville Development Partnership are actively working to find a new home for the Ogden 6 Theater and the other businesses that will be forced to leave. Council also approved a new building moving into Water Street. River Main will be a 5-story building at the northwest corner of Water Street and Main Street. The multi-use building will contain commercial properties with a 270-degree view overlooking the DuPage River. The property has been vacant since the rest of Water Street was redeveloped in 2017. Though council was fine granting a height variance because River Main is roughly the same height as other Water Street buildings, Council was slightly hesitant to grant a variance for floor area ratio. But in the end, a majority on the dais was comfortable with the building and approved it by a 7-1 vote. At a Planning and Zoning Commission meeting in January, Rivermain officials said the building could open as early as March 2021. The DuPage County coroner recently released statistics on opioid deaths in 2019. Dr. Richard Jorgensen's report showed 96 opioid-related deaths in 2019, a number that has held steady over recent years. And though total death numbers have remained consistent, the types of opioids have changed. Fentanyl deaths continue to rise, while prescribed opioid medications cause the fewest deaths since at least 2014.
And that's something across the country, doctors and nurses and all prescribers, oral surgeons and such, have realized that we need to diminish the amount of opioid prescriptions that we're writing and the number of pills that are being made. And I do think that it's encouraging that our prescription drug deaths went down.
Hospitals like Edward and Central DuPage have been leaders in addressing the opioid crisis. Dr. Jorgensen said programs like Edward Elmhurst's medication take-back and alternative to opioid prescription software, coupled with more education, are the way to bring opioid deaths down.
The number one thing that I hope that I see is that we have more people in rehab, that they become productive citizens again, they get their health back, and that we have less deaths.
Dr. Jorgensen's report also indicated there has been a decrease in opioid deaths among teens and 20-somethings, but an increase in every decade after. Coming up, meet the candidates vying for the 11th Congressional District seat.
Naperville Crime Stoppers.
Yes, I'd like to report some suspicious activity in my neighborhood. How does this work?
Yes, thanks for calling. Your call is anonymous, and I will not ask for your name. Instead, you'll be identified by a tip number. In a few weeks, call back with the tip number you received, and I will let you know the status of your tip. If an arrest is made, you could receive a reward up to $1,000.
How do I get the reward money if you don't know who I am?
Well, when you call back, we set up a time and a place to drop the money. You will be safe, and nobody will know you gave Crime Stoppers a tip.
Okay, well, here's what's going on.
The Illinois primary is less than a month away. The League of Women Voters of Naperville is hosting a series of forums to help the public learn more about the candidates. Our own Christian Canizal was at the latest, focused on the 11th Congressional District.
The 4 candidates running for the Illinois 11th Congressional District seat in the U.S. House of Representatives gathered at the Naperville Municipal Center for a primary election forum. The League of Women Voters of Naperville and Aurora hosted the event, which was split up into 2 parts featuring the Democratic and Republican parties. First up were the Democratic candidates, Rachel Ventura and incumbent Bill Foster. They were asked a set of questions by moderator Jan Dorner. One question asked was if they would oppose budget proposals and transfers that fund immigration and customs enforcement, and if they were committed to closing loopholes that commit transfers. Foster, who's held the Illinois 11th Congressional District seat since 2012, said the country, quote, will always need something like ICE.
I think that what we have to do is make sure that ICE is doing what the people of the United States really want. They don't want ICE engaged in ejecting dreamers. The huge majority of Americans believe in the DREAM Act that would provide a pathway to citizenship for these young kids who have never known any country but this.
Ventura, who currently sits on the Will County Board, said she voted to get rid of it.
I support abolishing ICE. I support a pathway to citizenship that is attainable, affordable, and does not discriminate from the country the person comes from, and does not move the goalposts for families who are already here. I will vote with the Progressive Caucus against any future funding for the border wall. On December 16th, Bill Foster did vote for a $1.4 billion check to Donald Trump's racist border wall.
After an intermission, community members heard from Krishna Bansal and Rick Labe, who represent the Republican Party. One question asked to both of the candidates was what are some ways they would control health care costs. Bunzel, who's currently a planning and zoning commissioner for the city of Naperville, said costs can be controlled if the government has less regulations on health care.
We can't afford it anymore. It is a problem. A common man, it's becoming a burden on a common man. So they have to be controlled. Now, again, they can be controlled if government gets out and remove the state boundary lines for the insurance companies. Let the insurance companies compete nationally the way they used to. So that is definitely going to help.
Labe, a sergeant with the Will County Sheriff's Office, also said government shouldn't play a role with health care.
If the government is not a part of it, then there's really only one other entity that can handle health care, and that's the free market. When all of the other institutions that are left are in the game, they're forced to compete. When they compete, then everybody wins. Anytime there's some competition, then everybody is going to win because they are looking to provide the best service at the best cost, and nobody's just writing free checks.
The primary elections will be on March 17th. You can check out where your polling place is located on vote.org. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizal.
Members of the NAACP of DuPage County were at the election forum registering community members so they can vote. A new task force focused on public art could be coming to Naperville. Commissioners at the most recent Special Events and Cultural Amenities meeting discussed the idea of the Public Art Task Force.
When we go into the SECA process itself, if public art comes up in maybe 1 or 2 applications, and those applications going back to the application itself isn't strong or is missing information, it's hard for us to recommend funding for that.
The idea first came at the February 4th City Council meeting when Council amended SECA's recommendations to include a $50,000 grant to Century Walk. SECA liaison Teresa Sullivan said the commission felt uncomfortable granting money to Century Walk without knowing what projects they could fund. But Century Walk can't know what projects they can do without knowing how much money they will receive. The task force will act independently from SECA and will focus on bringing permanent and temporary art displays to Naperville. Some SECA commissioners could also serve on the task force. It's still unclear where the task force's funding would come from. Kim said several options are on the table. It could come out of SECA's budget, a tax on new development, or somewhere else.
I don't think we have any set idea of what it's going to cost or where the funding is going to come from. I do feel, though, that having it be a directive from City Council itself means that they do find it important and significant for us to invest in.
Indivisible Naperville hosted a panel discussion at the Municipal Center to go over some of the benefits of legalizing adult-use cannabis sales in Naperville. Titled Let's Talk Cannabis, the event brought together Mayor Steve Cherico, Councilwoman Judy Broadhead, representatives from Opt-in Naperville, and Naperville's medical cannabis dispensary 3C Compassionate Care to discuss different aspects of adult-use sales. They covered topics like safety and enforcement, how the dispensaries work, and the economic impact. Cherico said the city can expect about $500,000 in tax revenue per dispensary.
I really want to just debunk some of the comments that have been made publicly at city council meetings, and then also just out in the public about how little we have to gain financially.
The panel concluded with a question and answer session. There will be a citywide non-binding referendum on the March 17th ballot where residents can weigh in on whether they want adult-use cannabis sales in Naperville. The League of Women Voters of Naperville and the DuPage County NAACP recently hosted an event with a famous photographer. At City Hall, affordable housing advocate, civil rights activist, and photographer Bernie Kleina spoke about his lifetime of advocacy and photography. He got his start in photography in 1965 with his involvement in the civil rights movement. His presentation was comprised entirely of his decades of photography work, which included his pictures of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the civil rights movement in Chicago, and the historic Fair Housing March through Marquette Park.
When people think of Dr. King, they think of what he did in the South, integrating lunch counters, freedom rides, and on. But they don't think about what he did right here in our city.
After the presentation, Kleina answered questions from the audience and raffled off some of his pictures. But he hopes those who left with a photo took home more than just a still image.
Well, I hope that those viewing my images will maybe be more courageous, be more compassionate, and have the courage to do something about it. I don't want people to think, oh, well, those were problems back then, but now everything's okay. And so I show current images to help people understand that the discrimination of yesterday, to a large extent, remains today.
Kleina also served as the executive director of Hope Fair Housing Center in Wheaton for more than 40 years. After the break, a planned solar installation shines a light on the city's commitment to sustainability.
The reason why I did it was I looked at it and it was very professional. It's something that's really going to get your name out there, and I love the fact that you play it on screen numerous times in a week. It's allowed more visibility of my business, and I've gotten a lot of increase on traffic as far as phone calls and people coming through the door.
The Nokia campus in Naperville could be changing after a recent approval from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Our own Christian Kenazal tells us what that means for the company and its neighbors.
At the latest Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the group voted 6-0 in favor of Nokia's requests to subdivide its entire 175-acre campus and to rezone part of it. A map of Nokia's requests shows the site divided into 3 main lots, with Lot 1 being an electrical substation. The company plans on selling their campus to a future developer, and then leasing back office space at the 2000 Lucent Lane building for its employees.
Nokia has looked at transforming the front building into a multi-tenant office building and selling that building to a developer, and then as well as that same developer would look at transforming the back land site into a residential parcel.
Lot 4, which is roughly 70 acres, was approved for an R2 designation, which would allow for residential homes to be built there. But community members from Fair Meadow neighborhood fear more residents in the area could cause even more flooding that exists in the wetland area.
I've lived on this property 18 years. Our basement, of course, like everyone else, floods. We have 4 sump pumps, but we still love the neighborhood. However, the best use, land use, in my opinion, of this property is to keep it a wetland.
Some community members suggested that Nokia donate the land to the Forest Preserve District of DuPage County. The Forest Preserve voiced its concerns through a letter, which was read by the Commission, about the potential impact stormwater can have on the area as a result of new residential housing.
Though stormwater basins are routinely incorporated into design plans, they have a potential to damage ecosystems when heavy rain events send invasive plants, seeds, fertilizers, pesticides, and chemical runoff from the pavement into the neighboring wetlands.
Commissioners still approved Nokia's request for several reasons. One being that the variance was passed with a Planned Unit Development Clause, or a PUD.
The rezoning helps move things forward for everyone in a positive manner, but still gives us the ability to weigh in on what really is going to happen there. I think that's the important thing here, so I will be in support on this one.
The matter will now go to City Council for a final review. For Naperville News 17, I'm Christian Canizal.
Also at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, the group approved variances to allow for the city of Naperville to have a solar farm. The photovoltaic system will be located near Plainfield Naperville Road and would house 3,500 solar panels covering about 6 acres on the city's Springbrook property. The Naperville project is expected to produce more than 1.6 million kilowatt hours of electricity per year. That amount is enough to power approximately 145 homes annually. The City of Naperville is working with the Illinois Municipal Energy Agency on the solar farm project. There is no direct cost incurred by the city for the purchase of the panels, and EMEA will commission the solar facility, which will be built and operated by a selected developer. Naperville already has 161 solar panels on top of its city hall and offers incentives to businesses and residents who qualify for their renewable energy program. If approved by City Council, the project could be completed later this year. And finally, the Planning and Zoning Commission approved a variance to allow for a LoveSac showroom to open in downtown Naperville. The 1,400 square foot store would be located at 12 West Jefferson Avenue, which is typically designated for businesses with heavy foot traffic like restaurants and stores. LoveSac would have a showroom for furniture to be ordered, but also on-site retail sales of home accessories and decor. Known for their big LoveSacs, the company also offers sofa-style Sactionals with a focus on sustainability.
Every 3-section couch is made of about 1,100 recycled plastic bottles. So I think that's an important attribute. I think the second thing I mentioned earlier is the fact that the average U.S. consumer is going to own about 4 couches in their lifetime. And those couches get disposed of in landfills. With us, you just have to buy one, and it lasts your entire lifetime.
LoveSac would replace resale shop Serendipity, which hopes to move to a new location in Naperville. LoveSac now goes to City Council for final review. There's a new event for brew lovers coming to Naperville. The Downtown Naperville Alliance and Dine Naperville have teamed up to bring the first ever Craft Beer Week to the city. Community members can enjoy some special deals on their favorite ciders, pilsners, and much more during the week-long event.
Kind of modeled after Naperville Restaurant Week, we decided to have a Naperville Craft Beer Week, and so it's a celebration of craft beer, February 21st to 29th, and it's just a great way for people to come and experience many eateries throughout Naperville and the wonderful craft beers that they offer.
The idea originated from brew lover and Red Arrow tap room owner Joseph Toda, who wanted to bring a unique event to Naperville.
Yeah, I believe this is the first city-focused craft beer week in Illinois, which is great. It's something unique for Naperville, and that's what makes Naperville special. I think they're on the cutting edge of a lot of different events, and having craft beer week is just going to add to that.
And it's not just all about the brews. Some of the roughly 20 restaurants participating are offering specials on food and hosting events with craft beer as their focus. A full list of participating restaurants can be found on napervillecraftbeerweek.com. Naperville North recently held an open house to show off how they've been teaching about technology. Luminara, or Lumi for short, is the name of this rock star robot that was built by Husky Robotics Team 3061 at Naperville North. During the open house, community members were treated to a showcase of Lumi's impressive throwing, moving, and lifting skills. But the success of Lumi didn't happen overnight, as the machine itself represents weeks of work on the part of the students. Those at the open house were shown all the work that went into creating Lumi via different presentations in different classrooms, from software to raw materials, and of course, the testing phase. The Huskies robotics team built the marvelous machine in the hopes to enter it in robotics competitions around the state later this school year. If you'd like to know more about Team 3061's development of Lumi, you can check out their website, which has a week-by-week breakdown of their process. Up next, 4 Naperville kids swing onto the national stage on American Ninja Warrior Jr.
Edward Elmhurst Health presents this Healthy Driven Minute.
Hands-only CPR is a simpler method, it's quick and easy to learn, and it's very effective when done before paramedics arrive. If somebody's heart has truly stopped, they don't have any blood flow that's moving. So by doing chest compressions, something's better than nothing. The first thing you're going to want to do is kneel on the ground next to the person that has collapsed and look for signs of life, most notably breathing. If you don't see any breathing, you'll want to pick up your phone, dial 911, place it on speakerphone and put it on the ground right next to you and talk with the dispatcher that way. Then the next step is to place the heel of one hand in the center of the chest and the heel of the other hand directly on top, interlacing your fingers. Keeping your arms straight and your shoulders directly above your hands, you'll want to compress, at a rate of 100 to 120 beats per minute. Compress hard and fast, allowing enough time for the chest to recoil between compressions, and don't stop until somebody can take over for you or until the patient begins to show signs of life.
For more information, visit eehealth.org.
It's not out of the ordinary for kids to seek adventure.
I'm an adrenaline junkie.
But it is a little out of the ordinary to find that adventure in a ninja gym. But that's exactly what happened to 4 kids from Naperville. Neil Seckery, Emerson Hebel, Jeremy Loff, and Emmy Smith all joined the Ultimate Ninja Gym in Naperville after traditional sports just didn't seem to fit.
I've done soccer, but I haven't loved soccer, so it was, oh my gosh, this is what I want to do. So, and I said no to literally every sport they suggested, and then they said that I should try ninja, and then I just loved it after my first class.
The Ultimate Ninja Gym was a great fit, but little did they know it would change their lives. After coaches like Jesse Flex Lebrecht and Chris DeGangi competed on the American Ninja Warrior show on NBC, the kids saw that they too could compete on the biggest televised stage, on American Ninja Warrior Junior.
The process is crazy. We had to stay up super late a lot and finish all these videos in time. And it's super crazy, but it all paid off in the end.
And it paid off big. The kids got the call. American Ninja Warrior Junior Season 2.
I was so incredibly shocked that I got chosen because I tried out for Season 1 and didn't make it on the show. So when I got on Season 2, I was so excited. I started crying and screaming. I was so happy. And when I got home, I was so excited. I was screaming.
Feeling the pressure, the kids got down to business. Not knowing exactly what the course would be, they worked on the salmon ladder, the warped wall, and other obstacles.
Some grippy stuff, a lot of balance, because I'm not super awesome with balance. So it was kind of just like, because we knew a little bit, but we didn't know some of it. So we kind of went off of the adult show, the kids show last year, and we kind of just practiced the things that we think. And we practiced speed and, practicing on focusing on yourself, not the person next to you, and all those things like that.
Then last July, the kids and their families traveled to California in hopes of bringing home the title.
They walked you through the different obstacles, then we had testing, and then the next day was the competition. It was just like, it almost was like I was in a dream. Like it almost didn't feel real. It kind of just, I didn't hear anything. I'm kind of in my own world, and it was just like, kind of just going. I wasn't really thinking about what I was doing. I was kind of just going, and then whatever happened, happened. So it was kind of just like, it didn't feel real.
And did they win? Well, that's still a secret. Not to be shared until their episode of the show airs, which begins on Saturday, February 22nd on Universal Kids.
I mean, it's been so hard to keep the secret. I just want to tell my friends so bad because they keep on asking me, and I'm like, I feel so bad. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. And so, it's so hard to keep the secret of how I did for so long. Is that all my soccer friends are asking, basketball, school friends, and all I have to say is I can't say, you have to wait for the episode.
Win or lose, these kids are in the gym day in and day out in hopes of continuing to be American Ninja Warriors.
I do want to continue this forever because this is my passion. Like, this is what I want to do in my life, so.
And no matter where these kids go in life, they have the American Ninja Warrior attitude. And it looks like reaching the top of any mountain is only a running start and jump away. Reporting for Sports Story Sunday, I'm Allie Coletta.
And if you have an idea for a Sports Story feature, you can let us know at newstips@nctv17.com. And finally, the Naperville Noon Lions put on a tasty new fundraiser. The club hosted its first Pizza Wars at Naperville Central High School, where 9 pizzerias got together for a slice of competition. Little Italian, Lou Malnati's, Giordano's, Little Pops, Uncle Pete's, Casano's, Aurelio's, Rocco's, and Bracconi's all stepped up to serve some samples. The idea came from a similar taste-off in Downers Grove, where Naperville Noon Lions Club member Steve Hertzberg tried the tasty event and decided to bring it to Naperville.
It seemed like a good event. They made a lot of money for their charity. Naperville's never done anything like that before, so I thought we'd give it a try.
In the end, the big cheese was Little Pops, who swept all the awards, winning Best Crust, Sauce, and Pizza. Money raised from the event will help the many local charities the Naperville Noon Lions support. And that's what's happening right here in your neighborhood, Naperville. We'll see you next week. Until then, you can catch up on local news by signing up for our NCTV 17 news update, delivered right to your inbox Monday through Friday. Sign-up information is right on our website, nctv17.com.
This week's Naperville News 17 is brought to you in part by the following sponsors. This program is partially funded by a grant from the City of Naperville.